Here's something that will blow your mind: the moment you stop trying to prove your worth to an avoidant is the exact moment they start to feel it. And Carl Jung discovered why this happens over 100 years ago. But first, let me tell you what you're doing wrong, and why it's actually pushing them further away. You've been chasing, over-explaining, waiting for scraps and calling it love. But here's what Carl Jung said about this pattern: everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The irritation you feel, that's your psyche telling you something profound about attachment wounds. According to Carl Jung, when you pull your energy back from someone who's been taking it for granted, you create what he called psychological tension. And this tension, it's exactly what forces an avoidant to confront their own emotional patterns. But here's the part that will change everything you think you know about love. Carl Jung discovered that avoidant behavior stems from what he termed the shadow self, the parts of ourselves we reject and hide. For avoidants, intimacy represents their greatest fear: being truly seen and potentially abandoned. So when you chase them, you're actually confirming their deepest terror. But when you stop chasing, something fascinating happens to their unconscious mind. Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances: if there is any reaction, both are transformed. But here's the twist: avoidants don't respond to emotional pressure. They respond to space. And I'm about to show you exactly why this works on a psychological level. When you stop knocking on their emotional door, their unconscious mind starts screaming. Carl Jung called this the return of the repressed. All those feelings they've been avoiding, they come flooding back the moment your presence becomes absence. But there's a specific way to do this that most people get completely wrong. Jung discovered that silence speaks to the unconscious in ways words never could. Your silence becomes the loudest message they've ever received, not because you're manipulating them, but because you're finally honoring what Jung called your authentic self. And this authenticity, it's magnetic to the avoidant psyche. Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. When you stop trying to earn someone's love, you start embodying your true worth. And this shift, from proving to being, is what finally makes the avoidant wake up. But here's what happens in their mind that will surprise you. According to Jung's theory of the collective unconscious, we all carry archetypal patterns of connection and loss. When you detach, you activate what Jung called the avoidance abandonment archetype, but in a way that creates growth, not trauma. The key is understanding the difference between healthy detachment and emotional withdrawal. Jung discovered that psychological space is where transformation happens. He called it the space between stimulus and response. When you stop being the stimulus for their avoidance, they're forced to sit in that space. And in that space, they finally feel what they've been running from, their need for genuine connection. Carl Jung said, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. When you stop pouring your energy into someone who's emotionally unavailable, that energy returns to you. And this return, it's what finally makes you magnetic to healthier love. Jung believed that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives. For avoidance, your constant presence allows them to avoid their shadow, their fear of intimacy. But your absence forces them to confront it. And confronting the shadow is where all real growth begins. According to Carl Jung, we project our unlived lives onto others. When you're chasing an avoidant, you're projecting your need for security onto someone who represents chaos. But when you stop projecting and start living your truth, something incredible happens to the dynamic. Jung called the journey to wholeness individuation. When you stop trying to complete yourself through an avoidant relationship, you begin your own individuation process. And this process, it's what makes you irresistible, not just to them, but to the right person. Carl Jung discovered that the unconscious recognizes authenticity instantly. When you stop performing for love and start being love, the avoidant's unconscious mind registers this shift immediately. They feel it in their body, in their dreams, in their sudden restlessness when you're not around. Jung also spoke about the anima and animus, the masculine and feminine energies within us all. When you chase an avoidant, you're operating from wounded feminine energy, seeking, needing, pursuing. But when you embody secure masculine energy, grounded, present, non-reactive, you become irresistible to their wounded feminine. According to Jung's principle of compensation, the psyche always seeks balance. When you've been giving too much, the unconscious mind will eventually demand that you receive. Your detachment isn't just a strategy, it's your psyche's way of restoring equilibrium. Jung believed in meaningful coincidences, synchronicities that guide us toward our highest good. When you stop forcing connection with an avoidant, you create space for synchronicity to work. And often, this leads to either their transformation or your redirection to something better. According to Carl Jung, we're all living out archetypal patterns, universal roles that shape our behaviors and interactions. When you're stuck in the eternal pursuer role, you're trapped in a cycle of seeking validation and love from others. But when you shift to embodying the sovereign self, you become whole and complete within yourself. This transformation changes the entire dynamic, making it impossible for others, especially avoidants, to play their familiar roles. Jung's ultimate goal was integration, bringing together all parts of the psyche into wholeness. When you integrate your need for love with your capacity for self-love, you become complete. And it's this completion that makes the avoidant realize what they're losing, someone who truly values themselves. As Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. When you accept that you cannot change an avoidant, you paradoxically become the catalyst for their potential change. But more importantly, you become the author of your own transformation. Think about it, when you stop trying to convince an avoidant of your worth and start living from that worth, your entire energy shifts. You're no longer a seeker, desperate for validation, you're a finder, confident in your own value. You've discovered the ultimate truth, your worth was never dependent on their recognition, it was always yours to claim. This is how you trigger an avoidant to feel your worth, not by proving it, but by embodying it. Not by chasing them, but by choosing yourself. As Jung knew, the greatest love story isn't between you and someone else, it's between you and the person you become when you stop betraying yourself for someone else's comfort. So, what does this mean for you? It means embracing your sovereignty and living authentically. When you do, you'll attract people who appreciate your worth, and you'll become the person you've always been meant to be. I hope this resonates with you. If you found value in this discussion, consider subscribing to our channel and sharing this video with someone who might benefit from it. Let's continue exploring these powerful ideas together.